What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, what shorts are doing today, and what's really affecting the market. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid's down 1.72%, 1142 the high. So you did have that nice spike right there. A lot of institutions buying, which I'll go over in a second. Unfortunately, we're starting to get dragged down. So 1081 the low. And a lot of this is because of what is happening and being stated from the White House right now. As far as volume, very low volume. So this is why you're pretty much seeing a lot of big swings based on just one or two transactions. So 3.29 million shares being traded as of right now. Coming from a larger standpoint, we did have a couple data points that came out first thing. So durable goods 5.3 versus 1.1, and then Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index came in at negative 1.2. So it still shows a contraction, but a lot better than the previous of 11.3. There really hasn't been that much in news associated to Lucid. No press releases, no SEC filings. A couple things were floating around over the weekend that I did bring up in my weekend video. So if you're kind of curious, kind of pay attention to that. But there is and was kind of some hot topics as well that was kind of brought up over the weekend as well, not specific to Lucid. One was a potential tariff associated to Canada. So Trump did mention that, didn't give a deadline or anything. So I think the market's kind of forgetting about that, or I think the market might have learnt Trump's kind of tricks where he does say a kind of tariff, market goes down, then he pulls the tariff and market goes higher. So I think they're just kind of cutting out the middleman. One big thing though that the market's paying attention to, which is one attributing factor why Lucid's going down right now, is shutdowns. So shutdowns potentially by the end of this week. And right now, hot topic is Minnesota. So because of some of the recent developments from Minnesota, it is fair to assume that neither side is going to budge, alluding to a government shutdown. So that's one thing that's really spooking the broader market. But in my opinion, that could be a good opportunity to buy some good stocks at a cheap price, because we saw what happened last shutdown, which did last for quite some time. It caused one or two volatile days, but aside from that, it moved higher, the broader market. So I wouldn't really think that the shutdown is that negative in my opinion, but what do I know? Do you guys his own due diligence, of course. When it comes to shorts, they are returning 715,000 shares. 35.14% at the free float is being shorted. Works to be 45.8 million shares overall being shorted. Cost to borrow average 26.91. So that has gone down like massive. At one time, it was like 350 or 400%. So it went down considerably based on that. DTC 5.6 days. So it does really factor in that shorts are relatively overextended. So this is kind of a quick summary of some of the data points, what's really affecting it. Looking at the options, 434,000 in calls, 461,000 in puts. So it kind of matches with the lower common stock volume. 48% of all the options being done today, though, are bearish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly between 11.50 and 12. So there's a lot of big things coming out later this week that could really push things higher. One is Powell after the interest rate decision. So depending on what he says and whatever else. We also have Tesla earnings, which will impact Lucid. We have a lot of other key data, and then government shutdown. So we have a lot of big things that could really push the broader market. So that's where the bulls are kind of feeling it could land. And then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub 11. I think one thing that's also affecting Lucid right now is both Rivian and Tesla both did get some new analyst ratings, and they weren't necessarily the most optimistic. There hasn't been any new analyst ratings for Lucid for a good week and a half, even though Cantor Fitzgerald said that they reiterate their price target. That was a unofficial rating, so nothing being done, posted through tip ranks or whatever. On the secondary market, we are seeing 3 buys. So this is where I like to go over where volume comes from, because if someone sees this right here, so they see 3 transactions, all of which are buys, they see shorts also returning 756,000 shares, and then the stock price is in the red, they wonder what the hell is happening. And a lot of this price action is because of algorithmic trading. All it takes is 1 or 2 transactions, as I shared with you, for the algos to get really confused and assume something is coming, big news or whatever. So if you see 1 or 2 buys, sometimes that is able to trigger this type of price action. So again, I think all of this is pretty comical if you think about it, but that's why we did see that little bit of a low, because of what is being stated right now. These are all the transactions occurring so far on the dark pool. Dark pool is a little bit harder to distinguish what is buys and what sells, only because dark pool is supposed to be anonymous. So you kind of have to coincide this with what happened like on the actual chart and so forth. But given how active shorts are, it is fair to assume that most of this is linked to them. Right now with it at 10.95, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 11.91 is going to be that next strong support. And then 11.92 is going to be the next strong target. So I'm looking at the 1-day chart, which, given how active Lucid's been and volatile, this is why we see some very wide gaps. So today, you really want to watch for that 11.91 to hold. It looks like it's kind of bouncing off of that general area, which is always a positive thing, but it does definitely need to hold. If not, you could be seeing 9.89 being the next strong support. Aside from all of that fun stuff quickly popping over here, there really hasn't been any kind of articles or anything really coming out about Lucid. Jim Cramer did give kind of the blessing, so he was rather bearish on Lucid, and so typically that causes kind of the opposite to happen. We didn't really see that much price action or whatever, but still, nonetheless, when it comes down to Lucid based on the technicals, it's still holding above that 10-day moving average, and that was going to be a key level to really watch for as well today. So that is sitting at 10.78. So if Lucid does break below that in the next couple of trading days, then yes, anticipate a retest of that 9.50. But for right now, at least, things are looking pretty good. Of course, algorithmic trading is just moving it freely how it wants, and you can kind of see that based on this. So whenever you see this column, so the smaller transactions outweighing everything else, that is algorithmic trading. So AI is really just moving Lucid how they kind of see fit. Aside from that, though, like I mentioned, there was no real kind of analyst ratings. Last one was done by RBC. That was on January the 13th. These are all the ones that were posted. Cantor Fitzgerald, last time Andre Shepard did post it, was November the 6th, and that was a $21 price target. So in general, Cantor Fitzgerald, Andre Shepard, loves to hear himself speak. Time and time again, loves to reiterate. In the past, he's kind of done it on an extreme level. So September the 4th, September the 8th, September the 24th. So he loves to hear himself speak, unfortunately. But nonetheless, this is a quick video on what is really influencing Lucid, where you see things going, and whatever else. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. And then aside from all of that, though, I know I have mentioned in the past, I do want to kind of branch out and start covering other EVs. Which EVs would you like, for instance, some occasional coverage on? I did a Polestar video. Clearly nobody really likes Polestar at all, but what's your kind of viewpoint? What's the next best EV that you think is out there? Do you think it's Rivian? Do you think it's Tesla? Do you think it's some Chinese EV? What is your what do you want to see? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon. If you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades worthwhile to, pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.